Diagnosis took place back in 2008. It was November. I had just graduated from college the spring before, so I had just begun working and just trying to have like a normal adult life that people would have, after going to school. And I started having diarrhea and loose stools, which is not really an immediate cause for concern because I mean everybody does, at some point sooner or later. Um, but I consider November 20th, 2008, to be the day I got sick, so to speak, even though I had been experiencing some symptoms leading up to that for maybe like upwards of 2 weeks at the most, 10 days, 2 weeks. And I consider that date because I had something really important going on then. And when it came about, it was clear that I was really sick. It didn't go that well. All things considering, I mean, it went a lot better than it could have gone. It could have gone a lot worse. But yeah, at that point, I mean, I knew something was seriously wrong, and I thought I just had the flu, or maybe food poisoning or something. But at that point, I knew something serious was going on, and it was right around Thanksgiving as well. So I'd spent Thanksgiving with my parents and my brother, visiting my dad's side of the family up north, Northern California, and they knew I'd been sick because again it'd been leading up to that, and they could definitely tell after that, like two by then it had been closer to 3 weeks, and I'd noticeably lost weight. I didn't have as much energy. My appetite was going. I either didn't have an appetite, or sometimes I'd feel like eating, but then it's like you would just take a few bites of a meal or eat one meal and you couldn't finish it. You felt full all day from just eating a little tiny bit. And obviously, that all works kind of like in a cycle with not having energy. So you're not doing anything and you were sleepy, which I didn't know at the time, but I'm sure I was very anemic, right there early on, because I was, and somewhere in there, I started seeing blood in the stool too, which was obviously a dead giveaway that something a little bit more serious than, a little more common illnesses that people go through. So from there, I went back. I don't remember if I got time off work or I was only living 2 hours away. I may have just come back home on a weekend and just struggled through the week. I don't remember exactly. But I went to the emergency room, ER. I think it was still during the Thanksgiving holiday. I don't think I'd gone back to work yet. And I saw a doctor, and he told me I had the flu. Just go home, get liquids, rest, and you'll be fine, which was ridiculous because at that point, I mean, I've had the flu before. They don't last 3 weeks and more, and they're not so severe, and that it's usually how I treat the flu, and you do get better. So this, I definitely knew it was something other than the flu. And from there, probably within about a week or so, 2 weeks. Again, I don't remember. That was a long time ago, so the exact timeline's a little hazy. But I was able to see a specialist, a gastroenterologist, and had to have a colonoscopy, which obviously was not fun. Didn't think I'd be having my first colonoscopy in my 20s, but that's the way it worked out. Fortunately, he was able to diagnose me with Crohn's pretty early on. So, as kind of complicated and unusual as my case turned out to be over time, that initial diagnosis actually was fairly simple. It was within about 3 months total time from being diagnosed. I mean, from having my very first symptoms to actually having a diagnosis and talking to the doctor about medications, long-term plans. My initial response, I didn't really have one because I had never heard of Crohn's before. And quite frankly, I was too sick to really react. I just wanted to know what was going on and how we were going to treat it. So they gave me a lot of information, pamphlets on literature of different ways to treat it, common medications, and that sort of thing. And that's what got me started. I definitely, I don't think I went way out of my way to not see a doctor because, after about 3 weeks, I knew that something serious was going on. But I know that's a common thing that, we put off going to the doctor, but your body. I mean, if you're experiencing anything like that, or you're kind of curious about it, things that are going on with your digestive tract or kind of having issues, I would definitely recommend going to a doctor, getting an opinion, also doing some research beforehand. I mean, we don't want to disrespect the doctors and tell them, I went on the internet and I put in these symptoms. I have this, help me. But I think, if you have a good doctor and you do go in there, that you've done some of your own information and you can kind of tell them, what's going on, and this is what I punched in, and these were the results. What do you think of that? Does that sound realistic, or where should we go from here? A good doctor will take that information and work with you. So don't be afraid to get second, third opinions if you don't really click with that doctor, you don't like the way they treat you. I've even heard of doctors sometimes accusing people with Crohn's and other invisible illnesses of faking it or exaggerating it. So you want to find one that wants to work with you and listens to you, and get yourself back onto a long-term plan to getting back on track, feeling healthy, and being able to do the things you enjoy doing and want to do again as soon as possible. So that's pretty much where my story started early on, the first few months of diagnosis. And I'll be sharing a lot more. I've had it almost a little over 11 years now, so it's believe me, it's been a long story. I can't really put in one post. I'm gonna have to break down, but I will post more videos and let you in on kind of how I got to be where I am now and everything that's going on and that happened along the way. But for now, I hope you found this informative and helpful, insightful, at least in some way. I'll catch you again with another story, food feature, food challenge, or something fun. More videos coming soon. So until then, stay hungry and be healthy, my friends.